Some people are coming on. That's good. Can they hear me? Is my mic on? Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'll just wait for a few more people to get on and then we'll get started. We'll talk about what we're going to be doing today with Pallet 11. Very exciting. I can't wait to show you guys some cool tricks and how to make a design. And that's what we're going to be doing today. If everyone can hear me. So the cruise is going on, and there's people at the cruise right now, and they're making a pillow. They're not making this design, but this is something that I did for Gloria. She wants me to do all of these different, I believe they're doing the sand dollar on the cruise right now. So there's the sand dollar. What we are going to do today is we're actually going to take one of these shells, scan it on our scan and cut, take that image over, bring it over to Pallet 11, which will keep the same exact size, and we are going to design it. We're going to make it look like this. So if you could zoom in on this, Kate. So it's very important that it stays exactly the same size. So when you're working in Pallet 11, you could trace all of these lines here. We have some fancy fills that we put in there that we are also... I'm going to show you how to do this. And we're going to, we already completed one of them. So we are going to do a starfish. And if you're new here, hello, we're Gloria Horn Sewing Studio. My name's Tommy. I'm going to be showing how to do Pallet 11 software today, or PE Design. So PE Design is basically the same thing. That's Brother's version. I have PE Design here. We will be showing that software and how to manually digitize embroidery designs. I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks on stitch density, stitch width, which one to use. So if you're new here and you're on Facebook, you got to go to our app and download our app. We're Glory Horn Sewing Studio on the app. On Facebook, you can register on Facebook to buy things. All you have to do is comment register, and then it will prompt you to a screen to fill out your information. Then you fill out your information and come back to us and watch today's lesson. Now, we are going to be on the computer screen today. For this first part, we're going to be right up here using these cameras for the scan and cut. I wanted to demonstrate something we could do with the scan and cut and our scanning mats. But I recommend, if you're using your phone to watch me on Pallet 11, it's going to be kind of hard to see me on the computer. The small little mouse icon you're not going to be able to see on your phone. You might as well switch over either to your computer and go on the Gloria Horn Sewing Video. Is that our YouTube account? Mm-hmm. So go on Gloria Horn Sewing Video on YouTube and look up our live stream, and it should be streaming right now. It's just a wide angle shot instead of seeing it small on your phone in a portrait mode. So let's get started. So we're going to be making this, but the starfish version. So, let me take this out. So here's our starfish panel. And we are going to kind of decorate this starfish. We want to outline it with satin stitch. Maybe we'll add a fancy fill to the middle. Maybe we'll add stippling to the outside. We'll see what looks good. We'll test some things out. Maybe we'll add candle wicking stitches to on each leg of the starfish. But first we are going to get our scan and cut out in our scanning mat. So I have my 12 by 24 scan and cut mat here with me today. Now this is not for cutting. This is only for scanning images. If we don't have the scan and cut, how do we scan for the correct size? That's the thing, is you would have to adjust the size in a different software, or in Pallet 11, you'd have to adjust the size of the photo in order for it to line up. You could take measurements here and I'll measure how long this leg is. And there's tools on Pallet 11 where you can use a ruler tool and measure how long something is. And I'll go over that and I'll show you that if you don't have a scan and cut. Now, if it's something smaller than 11 inches, You might be able to use your printer that has a scanner on it, and you can scan it that way. Uh, if you're using a pattern, it might be already actual size that you could just bring it into Pallet 11. But we're going to use the scan and cut because it makes things so much easier. I'm going to scan this on the scanning mat. We're going to bring it to a flash drive and then take that flash drive over to Pallet 11, upload the video, or upload the image, and we're going to work on it on Pallet 11. So first I have to make sure that this block that I have cut here is going to fit within the 12 by 24 mat. So let me see, because you don't want to overlap any of these black lines here. So that's good. And we could probably trim this side just a little bit. Let me grab my ruler. So the scan and cut takes excellent scans. It has a 900 DPI scanner, and you'll see what I mean. It takes unbelievable scans of whatever image you have on there. You could zoom in super close. We'll be able to see each fiber of this cloth. It's incredible. I don't understand why you need a camera that powerful with it, but I'm sure glad we have it. So now I'm going to take the scanning mat. Now this scanning mat is the 12 by 24 scanning mat. It might have been better if I used a 12 by 12, but that's okay. We'll only use half of this mat. But you can see this scanning mat has a film over the top of it, and it's connected. That's where we want to put our image or whatever we're scanning right here, and we want to center it within that 12 by 12 mark. And then we'll lay the film back over it. And that way we don't have to worry about it shifting. We don't have to worry about, it snagging on something. It's protected by this film. It's not sticky at all. It just makes it nice and smooth. The camera is going to be able to go over it perfectly. Now, if you zoom in, Kate, you could see there's different markings on here that tells you how many inches. There's also the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that shows you, when you go into your scanning settings, which scan to use. So that A marking is listing where it ends for the 12 by 12 scan, which we're going to use. But it shows you if you used the different scanning method, 8 by 8, it's going to fit within that certain region. So I can see the A is right there. I might want to kind of scoot it that way because it's pretty close. So I'll try to readjust this one more time. And I think that's going to work. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to whip out the scan and cut. Now we don't need a blade or anything today. All we're doing is using the camera and we're putting the mat in. Let me move some of these things out of the way. There goes my software. Just dropped it on the floor. Okay. I'm going to power on the machine. Pressing the power on button. And I'm going to open up my tray. Take out the back part. And I'm going to tap the screen to wake it up. Do you think they're going to be able to see this screen, Kate?
Are we able to tilt it up this way a little
Yeah.
bit? Oh, that's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So, just like your machines, it's trying to recall previous memory. We don't want to do that. I'm going to click cancel. All we're going to be doing today is we're going to go into this scan button here, right on the first screen. Oh, someone saw my wedding ring. Yeah, it's a silicone wedding ring. It's my other wedding ring is tungsten, and it's just big and bulky, and I don't really like wearing it. But the silicone ones are good. Okay, so we're going to click on scan. Now, all we want to click here is scan to USB. And I got to put my fancy Glory Horn Sewing Studio USB in. We still have a lot of these left in stock, so we might add that to the product selection for you guys to buy. Okay, so I have my USB in. I'm going to scan to USB. Now here is where I was talking about the different dimensions of, what size scan you want to do. So if I click into the wrench here, and you can see that has my resolution at 600 dpi. The scan size is 12 by 12. That's good. I just want to show you guys how to change everything, how to change your resolution. So if I click that, it will bring up these two options. We have scan size, and it has that A, B, C, D, all the way down to J, and then you can even do a custom size, depending on what size you want to scan in. So we could make it 11 and 5/8 by 18 and a quarter to fit in the Radiance and Avenir hoop. But we're going to stick with this the 12 by 12. In the DPI, I guess it only goes to 600 DPI. Apologize on the mistake there. 600 DPI, still super strong. We're going to keep it at 600 because I want to show you how crystal clear this image is going to turn out when we bring it over to the computer. Now, I just hit OK. We got back to this screen. Now it's saying start down here, but we can't start because I don't have my mat loaded. I'll click OK. We are going to take my mat, and I'm going to do this upside down. We'll see how well this works. But I'm just going to load my mat in. I'm going to come up and click on the button. The camera just had a mind of its own. So I loaded in my mat. And now I'm able to start. You can see that now it's highlighted green, and I'm able to start the scan. So I'm going to go ahead and click start, and it's going to scan. Okay, and it is slowly scanning. I bet if I changed the resolution, it would probably speed things up and do a faster scan, but I want to see what it's capable of. There we go. Seems like it's done scanning, and it's just waiting for me to click OK. It says scanning, still buffering. Okay, it says save to USB media. Okay, so we're good. I could go back to the home screen. I could turn off my scan and cut. I'm going to pull out my USB from the side here, and we're good to take this over to the computer and open up Pallet 11. Okay, let's do that. You're good. Okay, we are going to open up Pallet 11. And here's my screen. Okay. So I can see the comments too. So if anyone has questions about anything, feel free to ask. If you can't hear me, let me know. We are going to all do this together. And I'm going to show you some basic things first. You know what? Actually, let's just dive into it. I changed my mind. We're going to dive into it. And we are just going to open up Pallet 11. So here we have Pallet 11. Now, if you're using your phone, like I said, you're going to want to tilt your phone sideways, or you might want to head over to YouTube and go to Gloria Horn Sewing Video, and then you could see us that we're streaming live on Gloria Horn Sewing Video. But I'm going to try to zoom in on certain areas so you can see it a lot better. I'm going to go take this nice and slow. But here is Pallet 11. And when you open up Pallet 11, you'll get this wizard that opens up. And it shows you the instruction manual, which we have the instruction manuals today. And you can purchase a physical copy of the instruction manuals. It's sold 101. And Hopefully I clicked on that button. Do you think it's going to be in the way now, or should I clear the overlay?
I would clear that overlay.
Clear the overlay. Okay, but sold 101 for the instruction manuals. Clear overlay. Hopefully that's not going to affect things. Okay, so we opened Pallet 11. I have my wizard up here. We're not going to be using the wizard. You could go into your reference guide for Pallet 11 or open up the instruction manual to see how all these different buttons work. We're not going to be going into this today. There's too many buttons. I just want to get into it. I want to teach you guys how to have fun and how to digitize, and you'll learn the buttons as we go. Now you can uncheck this so it doesn't come up, but I like to pull up the wizard whenever I first open up Pallet 11. It's no big deal. I'll just close it. So here is our main screen, and what I want to do is get that image onto my screen. So I plugged in my flash drive into my computer. I'm going to give it a second to load. If we don't have a scan and cut, can you use on Solaris or Radiance to save to USB? So the Solaris and Radiance, what I found, I guess it doesn't stay true to size whenever you export it, but I could be wrong. Someone might have to try that, but whenever I was trying to do it, it just wasn't loading for some reason. It wasn't staying true to size. It was actually like shrinking it to like 8.5 by 8.5. I don't know why it was doing that. Maybe it was something wrong with my computer, but I couldn't seem to get it to work when I scanned it on the machines. But who knows? Maybe it was just my computer doing that. You all can try to use your machines to scan the image and put it on a flash drive. Okay. The Gloria Horn USB will work on Destiny 2, yes. Okay, so here's my flash drive. There's a couple things I had in here, and we'll get to those later. I want to show you the different densities for fill stitches, the different densities for zigzag stitches, and what they turn out to look like compared to what they look like on Pallet 11. But when you save an image on your scan and cut, it's going to create a folder on your flash drive, and it's going to show an image folder. I'm going to double click in that, and then I'll click into this just to show you that how well, oh gosh, you can't see what's going on here. Okay. To show you how well this photo looks. Like, look, this is insane. How the quality of the scan and cut, the quality of its scans are unbelievable. And this is going to make it a smooth process with Pallet 11. So I'll close out of that. Let's get our image onto our Pallet 11 canvas. You know what? Before we do that, we have to set up our canvas. So it looks like we might be in millimeters right now. I don't want millimeters. I want to switch to inches. So what we're going to do is, there's two ways to do this. The easiest way to do it, if you all could see my mouse that I'm shaking around here, there's a small box right here that if you follow these rulers, when these rulers intersect, it will say mm. If you just click on that, it's going to switch your units of measurement to inches. You could also do that in the preference menu whenever you click on the flower, go to options, and then your preferences, you can switch your units of measurement. But I have it in inches. That's good. It looks like we're in a 4x4 hoop. I want to change my hoop size. So what we're going to do now is change the hoop size. I'm going to go back up to that where I clicked on the millimeters to switch it to inches, and I'm going to look for this design settings button. We'll go ahead and click on the design settings button. You could see that it says the 4x4 hoop. We are on our single needle machine. Now you have an option to switch it to the multi-needle. We won't go into that. We'll just keep it onto the single needle machine since that's what most of our audience is working with. So I'm going to change my hoop size to the largest size. Where is it? That's really strange. Maybe I need to update. Maybe I need to update Pallet 11 because I just installed this onto this computer. There might be an update that we need to do. That's okay. I'll set a, well, can't do a custom size. We have to update. So I'm trying to remember how to update. I set mine up so it updates automatically. Options. Nope, not over here. I'm trying to figure out where to update. Okay, I found it. So if you click on the right-hand side, you'll see the help button. It's all the way in the top right before you exit. It says help, and then it says check for updates. I'm going to check for updates. Okay. So we're running into problems because Kate is logged into this computer on Microsoft and she is not an admin. So this might cause some problems. But that's how you would do the updates. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to be able to do this design. It's just going to look like it's cropped out a little bit because I can't do that full size, the 11 and 5/8 by 18, but that's okay. So that's how you would update. You would go to help, check for updates, and it will tell you there's an update available. You'll go ahead and update your settings, and it will give you those new hoop sizes that you can work with. Okay, so let's go change our hoop size to that design setting button. Let's change it to the largest one, 10 and 5/8 by 16. Now I want to put that image in. So we're going to go up to the top left and look for the image tab right next to the home tab. We'll click on image, and then you have a whole bunch of different buttons where you can use a stitch wizard to auto digitize photos. We aren't going to be doing that today. What we're going to do is just put our image onto the canvas. So we'll click open image. We'll click on from a file, and then we will go find that USB. Now you can see that Palette 11 actually gives you a bunch of templates to work with. If you just want to practice some things, it gives you vector images, or it gives you BMP files. So I'm going to go find my USB, and I clicked on this drop arrow, and then I went down to find USB drive G. Now I'm going to click into that image folder, and I see my starfish. And because this is such a high resolution photo, it may take a while for it to load. That's okay. So Marianne, if I do the custom size, it might try to make it a split design. Now you could do split designs with this software where you can make a giant design, and actually you can select the hoop size you want to split it into. So I could select a 6x6 hoop or a 6x10 hoop, and I want to make a big giant 30x30 digitized design, and it will break apart the design into separate hoopings. Okay, you know what? It looks like my starfish will fit. It will fit in this hoop. I'll act like I have the 11 and 5/8 hoop. No big deal. So we have our starfish here. That's perfect. It looks great. If you needed to adjust it and you accidentally clicked out, if you saw before when I had the image first entered, it had these resize arrows and everything. Now, like I said, if you wanted to do just take a picture of it on your phone and try to make it look as flat as possible, now you could place it on here and kind of eyeball it and see how big it is. Maybe you cut this block, like you cut your fabric size 11 by 11, and that's an easy way to do it. And then you take a picture of it, and you just have to make sure when you brought it in pallet 11 that you resized it to be 11 inches by 11 inches. But you can see I can move on to it. Now if I click out of it and I click on it, I'm left clicking, it's not letting me move it anymore. You can go up to the top left and click modify image, and then I'd be able to move it and resize it again. But if you're not using a scan and cut, what you would do is you would put your image on there. You would either use your ruler up here to mark, here's the 6-inch mark, and all you have to do to put these guides on is just click. So you click on that ruler and it'll put the guide there, and you can see this is 12 inch by 12 inch. I would stretch it to fit. Now, what I want to do, I kind of want to rotate it. So I'm going to take my image, I'm going to modify it again. Oh, I forgot to tell them how to size it. There's a ruler tool on the home button, and it says measure. So I could click on that ruler tool. I could measure my legs in the starfish's legs and mark a certain point. And then on here, I can click and drag down the center to measure that way. It will actually tell you in the bottom left your total length. So I don't know if they can see that. It might be too small for you to see, but in the bottom, it tells you your length, and it says 4.84 inches. And that seems about right. So I know the scan and cut's going to scan it true to size, and I don't have anything to worry about there. But I want to rotate my image, so I'm going to go back to the image tab. I'm going to click modify image, and I'm going to rotate it to the right. Maybe not, because look, my starfish is going outside the 10 by 16 hoop. So maybe I'll keep it rotated left. So I'll rotate it back, change my mind. We're going to keep it like this. So now when Gloria's making a pillow, she usually does a placement stitch, a tack down stitch for batting, and then a tack down for your fabric. So we'll go ahead and do that first, and that's very easy to do. So we'll go back to the home tab. We'll go look for shapes. I'll go down and you'll click on it, and it will open up this menu, and you will go down and look for your rectangle. Now, if you hover over it, it's going to tell you a tip. It's going to say, if you hold shift and drag, it will make a perfect square. So I'm going to click on it. Now, before I click and drag anything, I want to set up my stitch type. Just like you would in IQ Designer or My Design Center, you want to do your region property and your line property. So I'm going to make the region property a no-sew. And I just did that by clicking on this box here. You can see all the different options you have. I'm going to make that a no-sew. And I want this line property to be a run stitch. So I'll click on run stitch. You could even change the color to Brother Embroidery. You can change different thread charts on here. If I scan over to the right, if I go over to the right, you can see I have 4 tabs here. I have import designs, I have color, sewing attributes, and text attributes. If you click on color, you'll see that you have an option to choose different thread charts and even make your own chart. So you can come up with your own colors and make your own thread chart if they don't have your thread chart on here. But I'm going to stick with the Brother embroidery thread. I'm going to stick with that because I can have it do it's going to be a placement stitch, it's going to be a tack down stitch. So I'm in this color tab, I'm in Brother embroidery thread chart. I'm going to go all the way down to here, these small hearts. And this heart right here is the applique position. You can see whenever I clicked on it, it changed this title here to applique position. Now that's going to change my thread color, and it's going to tell me on my machine that it's going to be the applique position. So I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to click and drag, and it doesn't matter if it's perfectly centered. I'm going to show you how to center it. I'm going to show you how to resize it. Now if we're in an 11 5/8 hoop by an 18 hoop, let's say I want to make this 11.4. We'll make it 11.4. So I have my object selected, and I have my sewing order on the left-hand side here. Now, another tip is, if you don't like the sewing order here, you could actually click and drag this, and I could put it right over here next to that. So I just have everything together. It's all about preference. You can exit out of these and just have it one big screen. No big deal. I'll keep it over on the right-hand side. So I am going to center this. There's 2 ways to center this. There is control, if you have it selected, and I'm in my select tool in the top left. There's 3 different tools that you have. You have your select point, you have your select entry and exit points. You want your select tool. So if you can see, I click out of it. I can't change colors or anything. I can't move it around. You want to click on that line, and you can see these black boxes that surround it, and you can change the size by clicking and dragging these boxes. Or if you want to be more accurate, you could go up to the Home tab. You could find the Edit section and click Size. Now it's going to tell me that I have a square that's 11.77 by 11.77. Let's change that to 11.4. And I have the maintain aspect ratio. That just means if I change this width, it's going to change this height. So we're going to change the width to 4. I'm going to click preview. And it changed it to 11.4 by 11.4. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to center it. And the way you center it is you have it selected. You can go to Arrange and move to Center. Or you can use the short key Control+M. So I have my starfish in here. Everything's looking good. I got my placement stitch. And then all you have to do, I'm going to take the same exact size. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click copy. And you can see it has the short key there. Click copy. And then I'm going to right click again and click paste. Or you can click Control V. Now if you look over at the right hand side of the machine, you can see I have 2 objects in there. I have my first square we created and the second square. So I'm selected on the second square. I actually want a color change, so there is a color stop and my machine stops sewing. And if we go to our color tab, which it should still be on, I'm going to select this one, which is the applique. It tells my machine that it's applique. So far we have a applique position and then the applique tack down. Same way, if you wanted to add a batting tack down, you just do the same thing. I'll click on the first one, and I will see how it's highlighted in red. If you go over to the sewing order and you're clicking on them, it will highlight it in a red line. And I can't move it or anything. I have to first click on this, click on the one you want to select, and it will select it in a red outline first, these red dots, red dashed lines. And then I'm going to click on the select tool. And then it will select that exact shape. I'm going to right click, copy, and then right click, paste. And now I have another line there, and we'll just make it red. We'll go change the color to red. I'll go to my Brother Embroidery thread chart. I'll make it red, and that will be the tack down of our batting. And I can change my order too. You saw I clicked and dragged. So if you go over to the sewing order window, you can click and drag and change the order very easily. So I could take this red tack down stitch and move it over to number 3. Now, say you want to do a shorter stitch length on these run stitches for your tack downs, or you want to go around twice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the ones by holding Control. You can either hold Control and select them, and you see it will highlight them in blue. And then once they're highlighted in blue, well, let me show you the other way too. So you can either click and drag a box around them, and you can see they're turning blue as I drag over them, and it will select them. You'll see on the screen now they're selected in a red dashed line. We'll then click the select tool again, and now we have it selected. We have both of them selected. I know they're both selected because they have blue highlighted around them, and those black boxes are surrounding them. So now I'm going to head over to my sewing attributes page. And for the sewing attributes page, when you're just doing a run stitch, it will look like this. It's just going to show you your stitch length and how many times around it's going to go, how many times it's going to go on that path. So we know stitch length by millimeters. So just like we changed it to inches, we are going to go back to that small box in the left-hand side towards the top where the rulers intersect. And we're going to click that small box where it says inches, and I'm going to switch it to millimeters. And you'll see that it changed the stitch length. Run pitch is stitch length. And we can make it shorter. If we want to make it shorter, we can make it go 2 times around. Now we have it going twice around. Okay, so that's what I want. In order to trim these appliques, sometimes it works a little better if you have a shorter stitch length. If you have it go around twice, just in case you accidentally snip a few of those threads, you won't have to worry because you have extra layers of stitches to hold it down and make sure it's not moving whenever you go to put your decorative stitches on. So now our next step would probably be to outline the starfish, because I need a placement. I'm not going to know how to place my block. I'm not going to know if it's going to line up perfectly. So let's outline our starfish. So in the Home tab, you are going to go back to the Shapes tool. You'll click on Shapes. Now you're going to stay in this outline section. And I see a bunch of curves to my line that I'm going to be outlining the starfish. So I'm going to stick with the closed curve. The closed curve outline. And I'm just going to zoom in here. I'm going to change my stitch color. I'm going to go to my colors tab. I'm going to switch it to applique position. and I am going to zoom in a little bit. And the way I zoom in and the way I'm used to zooming in is holding control and then scrolling up on your mouse, like scrolling the wheel on your mouse. But I could also go to the home tab and I can find the magnifying glass in the tools section and click the zoom, and I can zoom. I'm just going to start right inside here. And I'm going to go back to my shapes and select that close curve outline tool. And I'm just going to start clicking. So I'm going to make clicks all along these lines here. And you can see that the line I will start to make will show up. I also forgot to show you guys how to change the opacity or the transparency of your image. So I'm going to go back to the image tab, and you can see where it said modify image. You have where you change your transparency. You could go ahead and just, I'll make it a little more transparent. That might be too transparent. Maybe I don't want to change the transparency because I'm going to lose those smaller details that have, these defined lines that I might be tracing. I think I'll trace along that. We'll see how it looks. So I'm just going to start on this starfish, and you can see I clicked down once, and you can see there's it locked that point in. Now I have to make another point. So I'm just going to go up this way. I'm going to click right there, and you can see it's starting to curve. And you can see that curve that it's making. I'm just going to keep clicking. I'm just going to move a little up, keep clicking along this line. And you can see that there's a black part here, and it's showing you that that is going to stay put. That's not going to change. You're just going to keep clicking along, make sure these lines are following along. Now, it's okay if you mess up on this part. You can easily go in and adjust it. So I'm just going to do this as quick as I can. Now, if you come up with a sharp turn, sometimes it's better, instead of using your curve tool, is to switch into your straight line closed shape tool. And how you would do that is you would have to click Z on your keyboard, or let's see, if I go up to outline tab, you can see it's right there. So I could either click Z as a shortcut key, or I could click up here. And you can see now it's going to make this defined point where it's a sharp intersection. I'll zoom in to show you, but you can see there, it's going to just make that sharp point there instead of the curve tool. I switched over to the curve tool, and you can see what it was doing there. So switch to the straight closed shape, and it will do that. If you have the curve shape, it's going to look like that at your sharp angles. So I'll just make a few with a straight line, and then I will switch back into the curved line tool. So click on that, make sure it's a curved line. And I can scroll along here using the wheel on my mouse, and I can scroll down as I'm working. I can use my mouse and keyboard. I can hold control and scroll out to zoom out. And I'll stay zoomed out for you while I'm tracing all of this. But you can see, you just want to slowly take your time, follow these points, make sure the line you're creating isn't looking all wonky, or you're not messing up anywhere. Because if you mess up, say I click over here and I'm like, oh no, I can't go back. You can go back. All you have to do is right click. So I'm going to right click, and you can see it did undo. So it did undo for my clicks. So if I messed up way back here, I could right click, and go all the way back there and just trace it again. So a lot of right clicking, left clicking, just to trace this pattern here. And will the manuals explain such thing as applique positioning and things like that? Yes, it does. I was skimming through it, And it goes into extreme detail over every single button, every single feature on Pallet 11. So I was very impressed. It even has some tutorials for you to do, very simple ones, nothing too extravagant or hard. But I'm just going to keep clicking along here. Now, if you click too many times, that can be detrimental. It can be a real bummer because you can't undo. Well, you can just definitely delete what you made, but if I triple click, it's going to close this, and it's going to close it too early. I'm not going to be able to fix it. I'm not going to be able to undo and go back to this point where I'm still working on my shape. So make sure you're not clicking too fast. Take it nice and slow. Follow along that line. I've kind of gotten into a rhythm of it as I've digitized more, where I could just click, 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 and make sure I'm not clicking too fast. So this is kind of the trickiest part, I think, when it comes to manually digitizing, is just tracing these certain shapes that you want to make. I don't like this line here. I think I'm just going to follow this blue part and then stay along the line again. And I'm coming up to the point where my line intersects again. So let's zoom in and see what that looks like. This is the hardest part about doing this. So after this step, everything is a breeze. Everything is a walk in the park. All I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and now I can see that there's a small line to the right of my cursor, and it's more faded compared to the line to the left of my cursor. If I triple click, it's going to close my shape, and it's going to follow along that line and close that shape. So let's triple click, and you can see that it made my stitch. Now we are in a certain setting where it doesn't show you the realistic stitches. It's showing us like I don't even know the word for it. Maybe it has a word for it. The stitch view. This is a stitch view. We want to switch to the realistic view. So in the bottom right, underneath my color tab here, underneath my stitch preview, it says realistic view. Now I can see realistic stitches, and there's also a short key for that, Shift F9. So you can see what my stitches are going to look like. Let's zoom out and see if there's anything we can fix. It looks like I might want to fix this small little bubble here. I don't like how it's not following along there. So all I'm doing right now is I'm zooming in and out using my short keys. I'll try to stick with these buttons so you know what I'm doing with every click. But I'm going to go ahead and fix this down here. So I want it to follow along this bubble here. You know what? If we covered this up with a satin stitch, I probably wouldn't worry about it though, which we are going to do. I want to show you how this is done though, and before we move on to the next step. So I could see this point right here got all wonky. It got messed up. I didn't take my time. I didn't click along here. So what you could do is click on that point. So I'm in the top left. We're usually in the select tool. And that's how you shift and move and change the size of your shape. You want to click on the select underneath your select tool to get the select point tool. You have 3 different tools. Select point. So we're already highlighted on it. Now if these points weren't showing up, you might just need to click on that stitch that you want to change, and it would show you your points. So here's the point that's all messed up. I could click these. What are these called? You know what these are called? Bezels?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are called bezels or some strange name. But you can click these to adjust the curvature of your line. I could click on that point to move it up here. Now I could click on this, and it's just playing around and seeing what works, getting used to the different features that they have on here. But that's looking a lot better. I like that. I'm going to zoom out and just double check my work. So everything looks great. I'm happy with this. I'm going to click on my select tool, and it's just going to put it right there. I'll zoom out even more so we can see the entire image. Looks great. Now this is just a placement for my starfish. Maybe I want to put this on my batting. So I know when I'm laying out my fabric, maybe I can use pins to put pins along the edge of my starfish to try to line it up with my placement stitch. And then once you go to do the tack down stitch, it would take that out. So I'm going to shift my sewing order. I'm going to put this after the batting stitch. Now I want a tack down stitch for this. And maybe you, if you wanted to, you could go into your sewing attributes. I could select on my my starfish outline. I could select on that. I could go to my sewing attributes. If you didn't want, see, it's going around 2 times. So sometimes it will save your stitch settings. So you always want to double check what stitch settings you have on there. And maybe since it's just a placement stitch, maybe we make it a longer stitch and we don't waste as much thread, or we don't, maybe it stitches out quicker if it's a longer stitch. Or, yeah. Or I'll keep it at 2. I'll keep it at 2 millimeters. And one time around. Now I want to copy this. Instead of like IQ Designer or My Design Center where you have to go back in and find your saved shape and center it over, this makes it so much easier. All I have to do is select on my starfish, go to my select tool, select my select tool, and then I have it selected. I'm going to right click. I find it easier to use short keys where I do Control C and Control V, because in order to right click, you have to be hovering over exactly where the stitch is, or you can go to Home and you can click on the copy button in the clipboard section. So I can click copy, or I could duplicate. So let's try the duplicate, and that's Control D. And it placed it exactly over the other one. Oh, no, it didn't. So don't use the duplicate tool. Use copy and paste. I'm going to delete that one. You can see it kind of shifted whenever I did duplicate. I never used that button. Now I can see why. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. Click, right click it. Click delete. So I'm going to go back and go to my sewing order tab. I'm going to select my starfish. Go select my select tool. Wait till it's highlighted in those or surrounded by those black boxes. And I'm going to go to copy and then paste. So copy and paste. Now I want to change the color to applique. And I want to put it right after my applique positioning for my starfish. So I'll click it and drag it and put it in the order I want. Now I don't want these two to sew out together. What I like to do for Pallet 11, I want it to show me how it's going to look on my sewing machine. So you can click on this tool here and it will say show by color order. And if you highlight that, it will look a lot like what your sewing machine would do. It will show you, here's the color order. These colors are going to stitch out at the same time. If I expand that, I could go ahead and let's make this a different color. Let's make it purple. Okay. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's do stippling. If you use the duplicate button, you would have to center them over top of each other, but I want it to stay in the same exact place over my image, so I don't want to use the duplicate tool. I want to use the copy and then paste. And that will place it exactly over where you want it to go, exactly over where you copied it. There's also a short key. If you can press Control and then click it, it will copy it and paste it all in one. So now we want to do stippling. Oh, and you know what? It's not going to work because I'm outside of my canvas. That's a bummer. I'm going to save this. Let's save it to the flash drive. So that's also another thing is, which I don't do all of the time, is save your design as you're working on it. So I'm just going to save it to this flash drive. I'll click Save As. So I clicked on the flower in the top left. I click Save As. And then I'll go save it to my flash drive. I'll save it as Starfish. We'll click Save. And then because it's outside of my embroidery field, remember I don't have that 11 5/8 by 18-inch hoop. It's not going to, it's things aren't going to work the way I want it to work. So I'm going to try to update and log into, how would I log into my account, Kate?
You might have to log me out.
Oh man.
Unless it's
Let's just shrink it. I'm going to shrink it. I'm going to shrink it. So I'm going to get rid. Let's go to the custom tab. Remember someone mentioned doing the custom size. Let's try that. Let's try doing the custom size. And maybe it will save it. We'll use the biggest hoop. So we'll go to custom size. I'll do 11.62 for the width. 11.7 by, do 18. No, we'll just do 11.7. I'll show you what this does. And you can see I can select my section size for the multiple hoopings. Then when I click OK, it's going to do this. It's going to show you these red lines. I did click save though, right? I will be giving more lessons, Ruth Ann. So let me try to do this really quick. Let me try to log Kate out. Sign out. Oh, I can't do that, right?
Right, because I have everything open.
Oh, it says OBS crashed. I think I screwed it up.